Welcome to the Pioneer Podcast. This is Ernst Roots, and today we are taking a moment to reflect back on what has been done and achieved since the launch of Lex Libertas just a little more than 100 days ago, to talk about milestones and achievements, tasks and priorities. But more than that, to reflect on where we stand, the extent to which we have been able to make progress toward the achievement of our goals, and thus, most importantly, the way forward. On the 7th of March, 2025, Lex Libertas was formally announced. Back then, it was still known as the Pioneer Initiative. It was launched in a preliminary form to provide people with the opportunity to sign up as contributors and to contribute to the formalization of the institution. The response was nothing short of astonishing. Within hours, hundreds of people signed up. We saw a pace of support that we had hoped to achieve in an entire year reached in just a single month. Not just support in the form of people signing up as contributors, but also a resounding affirmation that the central idea on which Lex Libertas is based is an idea with regard to which the time has arrived. This is an idea that would have seemed outlandish several years ago. Yet today, there is growing consensus that this idea is indeed an idea worth pursuing. And that idea is this: that South Africa, as we know it, is not sustainable. That things are not going to last if something doesn't happen to help the peoples and communities living in this beautiful country to change course. This is because, as we have said right at the beginning, that the fact that the ship is headed in the wrong direction has become less important than the fact that the ship is sinking. And so the idea is based on the conclusion that it serves little purpose to turn the ship around and to steer it in the right direction if the ship is sinking nonetheless. Nor does it help if we fix the hole in the ship, only to continue steering the ship toward the abyss. Steering the ship depends on policies conducive to growth and prosperity. But for the ship to remain afloat, it would need to be constructed properly, to be built on a foundation that is sustainable. That is why we say that the solution for the peoples of South Africa is not just policy changes, but structural changes. When we say that our vision is for a viable political dispensation for the communities of South Africa, we mean that South Africa needs to be decentralized. That we need a political system based on the notion of autonomy and self-governance for the communities living in South Africa. With the input of our contributors, we were able to draft a policy framework for the institution and have multiple conversations about the name. When we explained to our contributors that the name, the Pioneer Initiative, was a placeholder name and that we needed to decide as a collective what the name should be, we received more than 50 name suggestions within hours. And eventually we had a list of more than 200 to choose from. We discussed having an Afrikaans name to indicate our connection to the Afrikaner community and to Africa. We also discussed having an English name that would be easy to pronounce in the light of the fact that our institution will have a strong international focus. We also discussed several new creations and abbreviations. In the end, Lex Libertas was chosen as the name because it captures both our guiding principle and our ultimate goal. Lex is the Latin word for law, but in classical Latin and in context, lex refers not merely to a statute or a regulation as we think of it today, but to a constitutional arrangement that seeks to ensure an enduring foundation of justice and order that gives form to political life. Political life that recognizes that people are both individual citizens and a collective, a community, a people, or a nation. Libertas denotes true freedom, not as atomized individualism, but as the condition in which people, communities, and nations are free to live according to their own customs, responsibilities, and traditions. Together, Lex Libertas expresses our belief that lawful order and liberty are not in tension, but interconnected. This is the foundation from which we work for a better, more sustainable constitutional dispensation in South Africa, one in which the diverse communities of this country can govern themselves freely, in peace, and with dignity. Throughout the first 100 days, our core message has remained unwavering. The crisis in South Africa is not merely about who has been elected to be the president or who won the election, but about a deeper structural problem. South Africa is a vast and diverse country, and the only sustainable political solution, in our view, is a decentralized system built on the principle of self-governance for the communities that live here. A key priority was the establishment of foundational operations and engagement mechanisms. Throughout, we liaised with our contributors through online discussions, Q&A sessions, telephone conversations, individual meetings, workshops, and many, many emails. Given that we are a new institution, this process included setting up a brand new website, social media channels, and all the support systems that go with it, to ensure that each platform functions as efficiently as it could, according to its own nature, opportunities, and limitations, and also to ensure that everything is seamlessly integrated. Even though this is the type of terrain on which there will always be room for improvement, we are very proud of what we have achieved in this regard. A significant key activity was the trip we took to the United States just after the launch, a trip that we called the Abolition of Distance Tour, and with regard to which there is a comprehensive report on our website. During this trip, we spoke with various people in Washington, D.C. and several states throughout the U.S. about the situation in South Africa, the extent of the crisis, and how it should be understood. This trip included interviews with figures such as Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, and a conference in New York City. After the formal announcement of the more finalized version of our institution on the 15th of May, we left for Europe, where I spoke at CPAC Hungary about what is happening in South Africa and how people can support our work. We recorded several podcasts and conducted multiple interviews during this trip, including a discussion with Dave Rubin and with the Hungarian Deputy Minister Balázs Hídvégyi. We also met with the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, and several leading European politicians. Throughout, we continued to speak to as many people as possible about the realities in South Africa, which included discussions with Charlie Kirk, Piers Morgan, Tim Poole, and many others, both within South Africa and abroad. We launched the Truth Be Told campaign, through which we seek to share real stories about farm attacks, racial exclusion, the threat to property rights, and government collapse with the world. This was especially in response to the meeting between President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Donald Trump in the White House, whereafter several American so-called influencers on the left demanded that the problem in South Africa is exaggerated, that farm murders are made up, and so forth. With the Truth Be Told campaign, we say that even though discussions about data and statistics remain important, and even though we need to have the best, most credible data, it is just as important to share the personal stories of people in South Africa with the world. Shortly after the launch of this campaign, we have received about 150 personal stories, in the above-mentioned categories, stories that we are processing as we speak, with the aim of publishing it soon and sharing it with the international community. But even though we are still processing these stories, filling in the gaps, adding dates, locations, media reports, case numbers, and so forth, in consultation with those who have submitted their stories, we have already started to create opportunities for international journalists to speak with these people directly. This campaign will remain important in the months to follow, and I will say more about this shortly. We also reactivated this podcast, the Pioneer Podcast, which was quiet for a while as we were setting up the new institution. All of this while speaking with a variety of role players within and outside of South Africa about the need for a macro-political solution for the communities living in South Africa. We have also been working on quite a few things that haven't been announced or published yet, and I would like to share some of this with you now, as we talk about the road ahead. One of these is a structure that we call the Lex Libertas Club. This would be a platform through which our contributors would have the opportunity to be more actively involved with the work and activities of Lex Libertas, to help in the promotion of our goals. A framework for this club has already been prepared, and we are currently consulting with our contributors with the aim of launching it during the second half of 2025. We are also working on a variety of research papers and projects that will be published soon. Our focus would be on what you might describe as micro-political solutions as well as macro-political solutions. With micro-political, we mean policy positions within the current constitutional framework. In other words, which laws and policies ought to be changed and how ought they to be changed and so forth. This is a response to what we mean when we say that the ship is headed in the wrong direction. With macro-political, we refer to the broader constitutional framework. Now, even though this is a topic for another day, allow me to say just one thing about what we mean when we talk about the constitutional framework. With this, we are not first and foremost referring to the de jure constitutional arrangement, but to the de facto constitutional arrangement. Now, what does that mean? The de jure constitutional arrangement refers to the constitutional framework described in the written constitution as we know it. The de facto constitutional arrangement refers not to the legal document, not to the text or the theory, but to the reality in South Africa. And so South Africa is a prime example of the fact that de jure and de facto are not always the same. In other words, that which is described in the Constitution and the theory that underpins the justice system is not always the same as that which could be observed in the real world. And so during the second half of 2025, we will publish much more on these topics. We will publish extensive reports and also short summaries. We will also launch a series of reports summarizing the most important facts and statistics regarding a variety of issues in South Africa. Even though the Truth Be Told campaign will be an ongoing campaign that will be updated throughout, we will also start to publish much based on the information collected from the public as a result of this campaign thus far. Other than these things that we intend to publish, there are 3 big projects that we intend to roll out in the near future. The first is the Lex Libertas Club, which I have already discussed, a platform through which you as a contributor can become more actively involved with the work of Lex Libertas in a variety of ways. The second is a quick visit to England, during which we will speak on various public platforms and during which we will also have important meetings with key role players. We also intend to arrange an informal event during this trip with our contributors in the London area. The third is a more extensive follow-up trip to the United States. This is to follow up on the meetings that we had earlier this year and new opportunities that have opened up, especially in the light of the recent Trump-Ramaphosa meeting and especially with the intention of rolling out the Truth Be Told campaign and discussing practical things that could be done to promote and strengthen what I have described earlier as micro-political solutions as well as macro-political solutions. There is much that we need to do in little time, but we are working diligently to make sure that this trip will be as fruitful as possible. And we will certainly keep you posted on these things and other matters. Now, as we have said before, we know that there are no silver bullets and no quick fixes. There are also no final solutions or utopias. It is important to understand that there is little that we can do today and tomorrow that would lead to some everlasting solution the day after. This is why we need to stress that we are in it for the long game. And we have skin in the game because we are going all in. It's this or nothing as far as we are concerned. And that is why we need your support. If you are already a contributor, we would encourage you to become involved with the Lex Libertas Club that we intend to roll out in the months to follow. And again, we still have a discussion about whether we will call it the Lex Libertas Club or something else, and I would like to encourage you to participate in this conversation. If you are not yet a contributor, I would like to encourage you to sign up as a contributor, because it is only as a result of our contributors that we can do these things and achieve what we need to achieve. Even though I would highly encourage you to sign up as a contributor, if you are still uncertain, you can at least sign up to our online newsletter and social media channels, which form a fundamental part of our communications strategy. And so with that said, in the months that lie ahead, the following matters will be our top priority. Financial sustainability. We need to secure the resources necessary to continue this vital work, and your contributions are the lifeblood of Lex Libertas, enabling us to sustain and expand our operations. Activating the Lex Libertas Club and public participation. This will serve to enable you to play a tangible role in promoting our goals right where you live. If you want to step out of your house and do something real, this is your opportunity. Enhancing credibility and innovative research. We will continue to publish meticulously researched documents and groundbreaking research on models for decentralization and self-governance, demonstrating the feasibility of these solutions within the South African context. This is the thinking part of our cycle, refining the ideas that will guide our path. Activating the diaspora. For those of you who have immigrated from South Africa, we are building a digital platform and launching campaigns to enable you to connect and contribute from wherever you are in the world. Your pride in your heritage and your advocacy for our cause can strengthen us immensely, transforming your leaving of South Africa into a powerful force for change for those who still live in South Africa, or who would like to return when things get better. Strengthening institutional support and diplomatic pressure. We will continue to build a network with influential institutions globally and engage foreign role players to apply diplomatic pressure on the South African government, advocating for a more sustainable policy framework. We are building bridges, strengthening ties with our friends abroad, and making sure the world hears the truth about South Africa. We are not powerless. We have the ability to steer within the turbulent waters of history. What we do today will plant the seeds by which we will one day be judged by our children and their children. We are the pioneers, tasked with finding solutions that may well prove invaluable, not just to ourselves, but to the rest of the world. So I invite you, join us, become part of the solution, help us build a beacon of hope for the communities of South Africa, and hopefully inspire the world. Thank you for your support and thank you for being a part of Lex Libertas.